Hi, and welcome to the A Little Spoon Kitchen. Today we're going to be doing a gumbo cook-along. I'm really excited to have you all here. For those of you who are cooking, this is a live stream. For those of you who are joining us now or tuning in or selecting this video to watch, this is a live stream, so it may seem a little weird as you go through. I might be answering questions kind of to somebody off camera, but from start to finish, this is a cook-along that includes making shrimp stock and then putting together the gumbo. I'm not cooking chicken stock. It tends to take longer than we are going to have for this stream. So come prepared with chicken stock. If you see this video, come back maybe the next day or something like that, or if you buy it ahead of time, that would be great. But we're going to go ahead and probably run for about 4 hours. That's about as long as it takes to the point with which our gumbo is mostly finished and just has to simmer on the stove top for another 4 to 6 hours. You have some finishing ingredients at the end, and then we're all done and you can have a delicious, delicious gumbo. So for people who are here with me live, welcome. I'm really excited to have you here for this cook-along, and we're gonna get started. We're gonna get started with our shrimp stock. So like I said in that just initial segment there, chicken stock should be already done. I would say that's probably the first thing that you're going to do with this recipe is have that prepared. If you want to buy it from the store, that's fine. If you want to make it a month in advance, also fine. But right now we're going to start on our shrimp stock. So I actually have 3 pounds of shrimp here because why not? The recipe calls for 2 to 2.5 pounds, but extra shrimp didn't hurt anybody. So what I'm going to be doing, I've got head on. I don't know if we can see this here. We've got head-on shrimps. They look a little like bugs. It is what it is. They're not my favorite thing to work with, but they're so delicious that you do what you do. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to devein them, and then I'm going to pull off this exoskeleton. I'm going to leave that in my colander, and then the prepped shrimp are going to go into a bowl here. So what you're going to do, you can do this a couple of different ways, actually. If you want to devein shrimp, I like the toothpick method. And you essentially, here's my head, here's the joint for the head. You're going to go a joint back. So right here, you're going to kind of poke down in, and then you're going to pull up without breaking a toothpick. Fun. I'm glad I have extras. You're going to pull up, and that's going to pull the vein kind of through, and then you just kind of pull it out, which I already messed up, but that's okay. You're going to grab the head and pull that, and then we're going to take the exoskeleton, the rest of it off. What would you call that? Is it an exoskeleton? Is it something else? Cooking with shrimp is just not for you. Yeah, it's a little, the poop, oh God, what a horrible thing. I shouldn't have read that. Carried as a cooking stream is way above average content. Well, thank you, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Exoskeleton? What do we call that? If you pinch the tail, so if you get it, you take the head off, I would say peel this section, and then from about here back, if you just kind of pinch the tail, it'll come off. So now I don't think I got all of that vein. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna this is another way, is you can just kind of open up the back. Did I get it? Oh, yep, see, I had a little piece back here that didn't come all the way out. Okay, so and we've got our little guy ready to go. Next, you're going to see me do this a lot. Like I said, this is a cook-along, so none of this is prepared in advance. I did that on purpose. I want people to have the time to actually do this with me instead of having all of the ingredients ready to go and pre-measured. I feel like that can be maybe a little frustrating for people when they're attempting to do something for the first time, to have somebody kind of already have everything ready to go. There we go. Okay. Let's see if we can do this guy again. There we go. So you see I just pulled this up, and I'm gonna just tug that down. Yuck, gone. So if you want to make a shrimp stock, I didn't get all of that. If you want to make a shrimp stock and you don't want to do this, which I totally understand. Like, I totally get it. This is not the nicest thing in the world to do. And I understand if you don't want to be pulling off shrimp heads, and if you're like a little squeamish about it and it does not feel good for you, you don't have to. You really don't. You can get tail on shrimp. You will need 2 to 2.5 times the amount of tails to make a similar or rich enough stock for a gumbo, because the heads have all the flavor. And if you don't have your shrimp heads, then you need to kind of like double the amount. I'm just going to be doing this all different ways, getting this vein out all different ways on purpose so that you guys can kind of see what you like and what you don't like. But yeah, if you want to make a shrimp stock and you want to make it without doing the head part, then you need to do it in advance. That one doesn't have anything. That's kind of weird. How did you live if you don't have a vein? There is nothing there. Well, that's kind of creepy. Oh. There you go. Can't see chat. Oh God. This is gross. I need a like a wet cloth. Hey, honey. I have my husband on the side who's helping me, and he's about to help me big time because I need him to set my computer to not sleep after 15 minutes so that I can read. This does not seem to be doing it. Okay. We're just going to cut open the bags.
Don't go to sleep.
Yeah, if you go into preferences and then like display, it should. Okay. Do I have anybody cooking along yet? Have we gotten anybody in out of curiosity?
They're definitely there, just not chatting.
That's fine. This one also doesn't have a vein. This is freaking me out a little bit. I'm just squeezing and then tugging. Honestly, without the, there, that was a nice one. It's a little easier to do this without the shell too. I just take the head off first. Okay. Cooking stream, hi. Yeah, they would be easier to devein with something like a skewer. I don't have one. Or I guess they're like skewers for like kebabs, and they're probably too large, like too thick, and they're also quite long, and I feel like that's a little bit of overkill. That'd be really funny though. Did I answer what? I missed your question, dog. If you say it again, I can answer it. Have I ever made roux in the oven instead of the stove? I haven't, but I have read a lot about people doing that. I understand the reasoning behind it, but I don't know if I would ever do it that way just because I'm a control freak, and I can't imagine making something that I don't have, especially like that's that temperamental, that I don't have like my eyes on at all times. Like, I don't know if I could do that. I feel like caramel and like dulce de leche and like all that kind of stuff. Like I don't know. With the way that they can like burn so easy, I just feel like I don't want to chance something burning and like I have no idea it's burning. What camera lens am I using? Okay, so this is a lens that we bought a long time ago when we were Dink's dual income, no kids. It's a 28 to 300 millimeter lens with I want to say it's an f 3.5 as its lowest like f-stop. And it's a beautiful lens. It's the lens that I use most out of all of the other, like I guess I have 3 lenses. I have a 50 prime, I have a 28 prime, and then I have this lens, and I use this lens for like everything, and I love it. The lighting is great. Well, thanks. Thanks. Put the oven in a very low temp and let it go. Yeah, I know. God, I know it works. I know it works. I've watched videos and read about people doing it. I would attempt it. Like I'm sure I would try it, but I can make a roux in 15 minutes. So like I don't know. Yeah. I probably won't. Very funny, Sino. Very funny. Is that the world's tiniest Dutch oven? If you're talking about the little like the croquette, then yes. If you're talking about the really big pots that you can't see, then no, those are actually quite large. Okay, so for anybody who is just joining us, that has maybe come over from Instagram, welcome. This is a gumbo cook-along. We have started our shrimp stock, and basically what I'm doing is I'm just peeling my shrimp. I use shrimp with heads on because the heads have the flavor. And what we're doing is we're taking off the skeleton, and then I'm taking a toothpick and I'm kind of coming up through here and then pulling out the vein, which of course, there it goes. And we're just kind of yanking that out there. Is this the first cooking stream on Twitch? No. We actually have, I think this is like the 7th that we've done. So we've streamed quite a few times. This is the 7th one that like is just me. We've done stuff with other content creators and things like that, and for charity. But I guess this is the first one. I've done one on my Twitch channel. The rest are on my husband's. A lot. I think in the future, our streams are gonna streams that I do are gonna be on YouTube. This was kind of just a one-off because we already knew how it worked, know the setup, and just wanted to make it easy. This was a little bit of a last-minute decision to do this because I have just been craving gumbo, and was like, look, we've been talking about a gumbo cook-along for a while. I really want to make it this weekend, so let's go ahead and do that. And we ended up here. But if you go to, I guess, are you Leopard Stealth or just Leopard on YouTube? Leopard Stealth. That's what I thought. So if you go to YouTube and you look up Leopard Stealth, you can see the other VODs, the other videos and recordings of our past streams. We've done Thanksgiving a couple times. We've done, I think we did like a whole, like cookies. We did cocktails once. Ooh, this guy, gross. We've done a bunch of different stuff. And those videos will be moved over into my YouTube, but for now, that's where you would have to find them. You remember me talking about it a few weeks ago and it made you hungry? Me too. And then I couldn't stop thinking about it. So now we're here. I'm deveining them. That's what I'm pulling out. We're getting grossness out.
Your gumbo recipe on the chat.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, we've got a HelloFresh cooking stream. We did a charity cooking stream where we made cookies to bring to a charity and video game con. And then we've done, trying to think, we did the Dawning cooking stream where I made 2 cookies and I think a cocktail. We've done a cocktail stream. We've done 2 Thanksgiving streams. I think we did Cuban. I think we did Cuban stuff. I don't know. Honestly, we've done so many of them at this point. You had some of those cookies? You did. You did. I'm sure you did. The pistachio cookie? Yeah, those snowball cookies are good. Those are very good. Oop. So I'm about 2/3 done. Oh. Very funny. So after this, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to place my shrimp back in the refrigerator. And then I'm going to rinse off my little shrimpies here, my little exoskeletons. And then we're going to get this all in a pot on the stovetop with a couple of aromatics. That's going to simmer for about 2 hours while we prep for the gumbo. And the thing about gumbo is everything has to be prepped. You can't just start gumbo and then do things as you go. It's a very quick-paced meal, and it's one of those things where it's the prep is the thing that takes the longest. Everything else is just passive cooking. It's prep, a bunch of a little bit of active cooking, and then a bunch of passive cooking. So it's actually a really, really easy meal to make. You just have to be prepared to kind of keep going back and forth to it during the day. It's so good though. It's so worth it. I wish more people made gumbo. I like to leave my shrimp whole. You're indifferent, they're just funny looking? Yeah, shrimp are, I said it earlier, I'll say it again. They're just they're just bugs. They're like the bugs of the sea. Any kind of that's a bug. I'm sorry. Lobster, shrimp, crawfish, they're the bugs of the ocean. Yeah, especially when you're doing a roux. You cannot walk away from the roux. And if you think that you're going to start a roux and then just like chop up everything to have it ready, and like there's one thing, like you could maybe attempt that if you were like doing a roux low and slow over like several hours. But the way I do like a 15-minute roux, where you get a really high heat oil, like ripping hot, and then throw the flour in, and you get a dark roux in like 15 minutes. You cannot walk away from that. Like you just can't. Everything needs to be mise en place, like in its place, ready to go. There's no opportunity for you to like prep. So it's like all of the prep is done in the beginning. Oop. There we go. We are almost done. Your whole family loves seafood, but you can't stand it. I'm sorry. Bug enjoyer here. Yeah. Lobsters or roaches. I agree. I agree. See, I like crab more than lobster. Hot take. I like crab more than lobster. Lobster is sweet. I need to have a ton of like savory elements if I'm eating something with lobster, or it needs to be like so fresh. It's too sweet for me. Do we have anybody else that prefers crab over lobster? Just out of curiosity. Plus, it's expensive. Not that crabs aren't, but. Team crab. A Sasho crab po' boy does hit different. It does. They're so good. They're so good. You're from Maryland, so you can't choose lobster. Are you not allowed? We won't tell anyone. We won't tell anyone. You were surprised by how sweet lobster rolls are? Yeah, they are. They're sweet because lobster is sweet. I need to have like, honestly, like if I'm gonna do a lobster roll, and like honestly, I think that mayo based and butter based lobster rolls, like cold versus hot and all that kind of stuff, they are two different entities. Like I like them both. I like them for two different reasons, and it's like I could eat either and be completely content. Oh, that one I think pulled out the vein already. But I definitely prefer, like, I don't know. There's something so nice about like having a cold lobster roll on a hot day. But like when you're doing like the butter-based lobster rolls, I feel like there's usually so many more savory elements into it. Because they're usually like throwing spices and herbs in the butter, and then it gets mixed in with the lobster, and it's just like, I think that's probably a tastier experience for me, and it just kind of depends on like the weather and like, I don't know, how much I've drank, stuff like that for which one I'm gonna go with. But I feel like it's a more savory option to do the butter than it is to do the mayo. I don't like when people leave shrimp tails on. That's annoying. I want to be able to eat my shrimp and not have to continue like cooking or prepping anything after it's been served to me. I don't like to leave the tail on. No. That's something I don't like.
Well, now I know how to fix the problem. So hot fix it, but we can't do it till.
Oop. Okay. Hopefully everybody's just like can see what I'm doing. So for the yeah. So we're just taking the heads off, taking the shells off. You have plenty of time to do this. You want to like watch it a couple times, and then, if for those of you who are watching this after the live and you've come here as a video, you've seen me do this a number of times, you can just like pause it, do the rest of like do your whole basket o shrimp, and then come back, zoom ahead and come back to this. part. I think I got one more. We're almost done. Yeah, it's part of the shrimp to have the tails on for a shrimp cocktail. I guess I don't mind so much for a shrimp cocktail, just because like it's a kind of way to hold them. But even then, honestly. Okay. Oh, he's a little guy. The last one was a little one. You're interested in making of the broth or base? Well, this is part of it. So I actually use a mix of shrimp stock and chicken stock for my gumbo base. I also put ale in my gumbo base in the liquid. I think beer lends for a really nice flavor in gumbo. If you don't want it in there, you don't have to have it in there, but the alcohol does cook off after 3 hours, and it simmers from 4 to 6. After everything is kind of in like the one pot, it'll simmer for another 4 to 6 hours, so there's like no more alcohol in it. I just think it imparts a really nice, hey hun, the light just went off. It's not plugged in. It imparts a really good flavor. Can you just turn it back on? You think so? All right, there's a, okay. Okay, taking this to the sink. Okay, so I've got all of my shrimps cleaned, ready to go. I'm gonna put these in the refrigerator because we have to make sure that we're keeping them cold. I'm also going to wash my hands because I don't want to touch anything now that I've done that. So you're gonna hear me washing my hands. "20 seconds. Did everybody sing the happy birthday song with me while I washed my hands? The question is, where in my refrigerator can I fit all of this? There we go. Okay, so I guess what we'll do is I'll just keep this here, and then we'll move back as we need to. So I'm gonna do 8 cups of water. What, to like follow me around the kitchen? My kitchen would have to be far cleaner. Yeah, yeah. All right, so. Okay. Okay, so 8 cups of water, 1.9 liters if you're following along in metric. And then I'm gonna be using 2 carrots. I am going to scrub these. I'm gonna chop the top and the bottom off, and I'm gonna give them a scrub. If I'm doing chicken stock, I peel my carrots, mainly because I like to eat them afterward, and unpeeled carrots are not super tasty coming out of a stock pot. So let's do this. Honestly, you know what? I'll peel these now. You don't have to peel them. You can just give them a good scrub. You're not going to be, like, if you're not planning on eating them, you can just give them a good scrub. I'm just going to peel them so you guys can see me on camera, and I'm not going to, like, disappear to my sink. So we'll just go ahead and peel. You want a cooking stream every Sunday? I don't know if I could come up with a number of recipes for that. I think that'd be fun though. Plus I have 2 kids and like having them kind of stay out of the way and like.
So every Monday.
Yeah, every Monday. It would have to be during the weekday. Okay, it's about 4 to 5 stalks of celery. I really should rinse these. I usually add more celery. I usually like to do equal parts celery and onion, and then like a little bit of carrots. Like I said, we talked just like with the lobster. Like for my tastes, I prefer less sweet, and carrots are sweet, and so I don't use as much of them as you typically would. So that is an on me kind of thing. You don't need for this. You don't need to do like perfect full stalks and carrots and things like that. If you have like leftover pieces of veg, I have a baggie in my refrigerator that I keep like all of the bottoms and like tops and stuff like that of like celery and carrots. I'm really just cutting off like the bag bits, so like anything that's kind of like brown and gross because I don't want that in the stock. And I have like onion tops and all sorts of stuff that I'll just like toss into stock when I'm making stock. Just kind of going off of the recipe here. Ooh, that's a good question. Any thoughts on low carb related substitutions like using almond or gluten free, honestly, like using almond flour? Instead of regular flour for like the roux. If you were gonna use that, not only is it gonna change the flavor, we automatically know like it will be a nutty flavor, right? You're gonna have to be careful with the heat that you cook it on because it will burn. It will burn. So if you're doing a roux, I've never made a roux with a gluten-free flour. I would imagine that you would have to do a low and slow roux. You could not do this like 15-minute high heat roux without it burning. Please don't drink that. That's for my gumbo. He just pulled the beer out of the refrigerator that I put in there.
I was wondering why.
You're like, hey, that looks good.
Why is it not in the beer fridge?
Does a roux work with non-wheat flours? I don't know if it would work as a thickener. I'm honestly not sure. Honestly not sure. I would be totally happy to do some experimentation and get back to you though, because that sounds like a great experiment. Yeah, okay. That's actually, you know what? JB, that is a great point. So there are 3 things that you use to thicken gumbo. You can use a roux, okra, or filet. This recipe does a combination of 2 of those. I use a roux and I use filet at the end. There is okra in this recipe, but I kind of pan saute it until I've got all that sliminess out of it, and then that goes in just for kind of that like browned, crispy, roasted okra flavor because I love okra. But if you wanted to thicken up your gumbo without using a roux, in a lot of traditional cases, you're using okra and you're using a filet. And basically what you do is you chop up your okra and you toss it in uncooked, and that sliminess from the okra will come out, get into the gumbo, and it will thicken it. So you can make gumbos, even traditional gumbos, without a roux. So just FYI, if you wanted to completely cut out the flour, you could. It will most likely be thinner than what you're going to get if you use a roux, but that doesn't mean that it's not delicious. So yeah. Okay, yeah. Yes, shrimp stock is quicker. It takes 1 to 2 hours. I would not suggest going over that. And you have to like gently simmer it. We're not going to let anything be really boily or anything like that. Most of the time, when it comes to beef and chicken stocks, if you really wanted to, you could like get that into a rolling boil. It'll just make it cloudy, but it's not going to really change the flavor much. It just changes like visually what it looks like. With a shrimp stock, you really don't want it to be more than like a really gentle simmer. So like a couple of bubbles, but nothing actually like rolling and like making a lot of agitation to the water, to the surface of the water. And I would say, like I said, like no longer than 2 hours. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm going to put this on the stovetop. And while this is cooking, I'm going to be prepping my ingredients. And once everything is like cooked and ready and the gumbo is like ready for liquid to go in, chicken stock is going in, beer is going in, and the shrimp stock is going in right from the stovetop. So it's kind of just like a good like, hey, here's your window of opportunity to prep until you're ready for all of that liquid to kind of get transferred over to prep and cook. Okay, so let's see, where are we? We've got, let's check in chat for a second. So we've got our carrots, our celery, we got my half a onion, we're gonna do a bay leaf. Okay, I know people are gonna say something about this, but I love these. I know like the microplastics, maybe. I don't even know, honestly. But this is a tea bag. It is a throwaway tea bag. You can get like a pack of 400 for $7. I use this when I make tea, but I also use it when I cook stock. So in cases where you would like tie herbs together in like a sachet or something like that, or you want to like throw spices or something into a stock, I actually use a tea bag. It makes it easier to kind of fish that out all in one big packet, and I don't have to go searching for stuff. And I just really like it. So yeah, so I'm using this guy, and I'm gonna do a bay leaf here. I get all of my herbs and spices from. We have a couple of we have an Indian market and an Asian market in town, and I get all of my stuff from there because it's like so much cheaper for much bigger bulked items. I have measurements for the spices, but honestly, I'm just eyeballing it today. We're like not gonna do anything crazy. So some whole peppercorns. I'm gonna toss in my lemon. We're gonna do two cloves of crushed garlic, which I'm gonna do over here. You have the same thermometer. This guy? I love this guy. Love it. Yeah, if you didn't know, it's magnetic. As long as something is steel or whatever it is, it'll stick. So I'm just crushing the garlic. I'm not gonna slice it. I'm not gonna mince it. I'm not gonna do anything crazy to it. I want it to just gently flavor the stock. The more that you break down garlic, the stronger flavor you will get. And I don't want my shrimp stock to just taste like garlic stock or like too heavily in garlic. And I know that's, for some people are like, oh my God, no, like make it taste like garlic. But we're not gonna do that. Okay, so that's gonna go in. You just kind of fold over like that. And that goes in. Okay, I'm gonna give these guys a rinse just to make sure that there's like any dirt or anything on them, that I've got that off. And then we can go ahead and get this started on the stovetop. No, because I'm going to be prepping. This is just cooking back there. Let's see. We can use this guy. I want to make sure that everything is submerged. So I'm just going to push it all down. So we're actually cooking everything. Because this is cooking at such a low temperature, it's going to reduce like barely anything. So like I put 8 cups, it'll reduce by about maybe 2 cups. So you're gonna have quite a bit of liquid to add in. I forgot the time. Oops. Glad this isn't hot yet. See, look at this. Where's the sachet? This is gonna be easy. Let's find this. Maybe I've buried it under the shrimp. Where'd we go? Okay, I'm adding a second one. Dang. I've lost it underneath all the shrimp. Okay, need some time. Now, the recipe calls for dried thyme, but it's just kind of one of those things that like if you have fresh, just use fresh. And I'm just gonna use like one little guy and toss it in. Thyme is really nice in a shrimp stock. Dunk. Oh, there it is. And I'm seeing the sachet pop up. Oh, well, the other one. Not a big deal. Okay, so now we're going to prep while that is going. It's better to have what? You think so? Oh, that makes sense, actually, so people can see what's going on back there. Because they can see me here, like it's not... Okay. That works for me. Okay. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm essentially prepping everything, right? So we're cutting up our our okra. We're cutting up our okra. We're gonna set it aside on a plate. We're cutting up our onions, setting aside in a bowl. Our green peppers, setting it aside in a bowl. Our celery, setting it aside in a bowl. And we're just going to kind of be getting all of the things that are going to kind of get put into the gumbo at different times to layer flavor. We're getting all of that ready so that once that roux starts, I can just kind of toss in every couple of minutes as needed. Speaking of which, let's get this beer. Honey, there's a container of chicken stock in the back fridge. Can you grab that for me? Necessary. I wanted to make sure that this was a full cook along. I didn't even wash any of my produce. Like that says like, we are going little by little by little the whole time. The dishwasher shouldn't get too bad of a workout, to be honest. Like I was thinking about it and it's 2 pots. So I've got the pot for shrimp stock. Chicken stock has already been made. I've got a pot for the gumbo. If you make the stocks ahead of time and just have them in your refrigerator, you're literally using 1 pan and 1 pot. A cutting board, a knife. Like, there's like really not a lot to this. It's just a lot of ingredients, a lot of prep. Any of those will work. They're all chicken stock. Yeah, I'll just take the top one. That's fine. Set that down. Who's that? That's my husband. He's just being a nice guy, delivering some ingredients that I left out. Okay, so let's start pulling stuff. We need 2 medium onions. I do have, just for anybody that is interested, and I've actually printed it off. I didn't realize you could do this, and I was so thoroughly impressed by the, I guess, UI of the plugin that I use, my recipe plugin. You can toggle between imperial and metric when you print the recipe off, so I actually printed it off in imperial and metric. I actually prefer working in metric because it's more, it's consistent, yeah. It's consistent, it's more precise. With a gumbo, less important to be that precise because it's all kind of by feel, by flavor. So you can kind of use whichever one you decide that you want to use. But for those of you who are wondering, essentially everything it's like 2 to 1 to 1. So you're doing onions. I'm doing 2 onions to 1 part green pepper and 1 part celery. So if you kind of just follow that, that's going to be like a good place for you to be. Yeah, I absolutely prefer it in baking. Like there's no reason to use imperial measurements in baking. Like there's just so many inconsistencies there. I would like a meter of cola. That's not how that works. Okay. So let's get chopping. All right, so 2 onions, 2 peppers. Be rinsing those in a second. We need what are you doing? You're funny. Okay. I need, let's see. I love celery. We're gonna do, it says 4 to 5. I'm gonna use 5. It's probably a little too much. These are pretty big stalks, but I really like celery. So like, actually, let me do this now. I'll show you guys what I do. So like, I've got, this is the celery, right? I'm gonna cut off the tops of these and the bottoms of these. This is the rib that I'm going to use. This all gets put into a bag in my freezer, and I use this for stock. Like, easy decision. Same thing with this. Honestly, I'm gonna just do this now. Gives it less time to go bad if I just put it right into my freezer when I've got it out. So like this will go back into the bag and into the refrigerator. And this whole pile of greens here is gonna go into my freezer for stock. Yeah, like you don't, with gumbo, like once you've done it, once you know what flavors you're looking for, if you're comfortable, it's all about how comfortable you are in the kitchen too, right? So once you get used to making it, or you've made it a few times, you know what you're looking for flavor-wise, it's like really easy to, it's really easy to just kind of like go by feel, go by taste. But if you want to make it and you want to make it the same way consistently, because like a lot of the times, like I might make something and until I started, it's so funny because like until I started writing down recipes, I would make something and then like make it again and I'd be like, it's slightly different, it tastes slightly different. And I'd try like, and I'd have to kind of mess with it to get it back to the thing, get back to that one time that I made it and it was like so good. And now that I started writing recipes, it's like really hard for me to like not keep using my recipes because I know that I'm gonna have consistently that flavor. And so it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's going to taste really similar every time you make it and it's always going to be good. But if you want it to be like the same every time, then like a recipe is kind of like the easiest way to do that.
Yeah, your camera looks so like, I think it's better than mine.
Really?
I think you're okay.
Oh, that's cool. My husband just said this camera looks better than his camera. So,
Whoa!
Yay. And apparently my husband is commenting in this stream. I wonder if there's any way to get weekly recipe development photography streams into Carrie's workflow. We're using her main photo camera. I don't think I could do this weekly. But I am contemplating this being an add-in to Patreon. And that we do like a monthly stream, cook along, hangout, something or other. So everybody has access to the VOD, but if you want to be live, or something, honestly, not sure. Contemplating.
Go live on TikTok right now, too.
Huh?
Go live on TikTok right now, too.
Oh God, no, don't do that. You don't have to do that. Okay. Okay. So we've got our Holy Trinity here. For those of you who don't know what that means, in French cooking, your Holy Trinity or your mirepoix is traditionally celery, onions, and carrots. But in Italian cooking and in Creole Cajun cooking, you're looking at green peppers instead of carrots. So it's celery, onions, and green peppers. So we've got that out here. And then I'm going to need cumin, paprika, let's see, black pepper, celery seed, getting all of my ingredients out. Black pepper. This is my cumin and paprika. Let's see. Celery seed is back here somewhere. Celery salt. Nope, here it is. Okay. Celery seed. So I'm just kind of going to pull everything out. I've got white miso paste here. We need an anchovy, roasted garlic. For those of you who are cooking along, or if you are watching this video after the fact and you decided that you want to make this gumbo, and you're here and you're working through it with me, you do not have to use roasted garlic. It's what's listed in this recipe because I have an allergy to garlic, and so I have to cook it before I can eat it. But you can use fresh garlic. If you're going to use fresh garlic, you're going to want to, I guess I can do a bit of a show. What you're going to want to do is peel it. You're going to want to mince it down. So like mince it really good. And then what you're going to do is once you have like a pile of minced garlic on your cooktop, you're going to want to take your knife and kind of smear it back and forth and push down and smear it back and forth like that until you make a paste. And then that paste is what you're going to be using when you go to kind of cook it. So what I'm doing, for those of you who are just curious as to like what all of these odd ingredients are, I have got anchovy, I've got white miso paste, we've got some garlic, some roasted garlic, which is a paste, and a couple of different ingredients that like aren't traditional to a gumbo recipe, especially like when you're, miso paste is absolutely not Cajun. I like to add this to a lot of my savory soups, stews, sauces, is what I call an umami bomb. It's just added flavor. It's not necessary, but I think that it just really gives a nice punch to a gumbo, to a tomato basil soup, to a braised beef ragu, to all those kinds of things. And so essentially what I do is I just kind of make like a paste of all of these like things that are gonna kind of boost that umami flavor. And then I add that in after sweating out all of my aromatics and my vegetables. So this will be for that. And I guess you'll get to see a little bit of that kind of like scraping into a paste action because I have to do that with my anchovy. So if you don't want to use anchovy, you can use Worcestershire. That's an easy substitute. There actually is anchovies in Worcestershire. So in case I just broke that to your little hearts, I'm really sorry. But there is anchovy in Worcestershire. That's why it has that flavor. It's got like a little bit of a fishy flavor. And you can use probably about a half a tablespoon of Worcestershire instead of anchovy. Okay. So let's see. What else do we need? We need our sausage. I'm going to leave that in the refrigerator because it needs to stay cold for now. I've got my flour and my vegetable oil hanging out on the side. If you want to use canola or vegetable oil, that's fine. You're going to want to use a high heat oil. Essentially what that means is it's not going to burn and start smoking on you. That would be like not fun. So you're looking at grapeseed oil, safflower oil, which are on the expensive side. I stick to cheaper stuff. So canola and vegetable are what are listed in the ingredient list on the recipe. You could use peanut oil, but it would make it flavored like a peanut. So if you want to have like a nutty flavor in your gumbo, sure. But I was kind of trying to stick to something a little more neutral. So neutral high heat oil are essentially the 4 that I listed are probably the 4 ones that I would recommend. So on the cheaper side, canola and vegetable. On the higher end side, grapeseed and safflower oil. So let's see, and then our stocks and stuff. Okay, so we're good on our prep, and we're gonna go ahead and start getting this all together. Let me do a quick rinse. Are you sure you want that back there and not on the cutting board? I feel like maybe it should be here with me.
Give you an idea of like the stage that you're at.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just cooking back here. Nice and easy. It's not even... Yeah, this is all I want. I just want it to sit and gently cook. And honestly, right now I'm at medium just because it's been kind of heating up. But once I start seeing a little bit of active boiling, I'm going to turn it down.
What's it on now?
It's medium right now. It's on medium. 5. For us, it's a 5. Stovetops are fun because they all have different...
like women's clothing.
Yeah, all different labels, right? So like our stove goes up to 9 and then it's power boil. So it goes from like a 1 to a 9. And then it's got like half steps. So I got like 15 different labels for ours, but most stovetops are just like, low, medium, high, and high. So I was attempting to be universal. Your stove goes up to 12? Yo. So I'm just kind of cleaning these up. Okay. This is the time for everybody to talk about my knife skills. I'm a home cook. And that was a big pile. I should have made that smaller. Okay. So this is about the size that you want. If you wanted to make them larger size, like larger chunks, you could. It's not a huge deal. Need to get me a better chef's knife. I have a nicer one. I'm not using it today because this is honestly my workhorse. I love this knife. This knife, like I've tried other knives. This knife fits my hand so much better than some of the other knives that I have. I have a Miyabi that I also really like, but my hand starts hurting if I use it for too much prep. So I don't typically use it for prep. You don't think you've ever seen a left-handed chef? No way. No way. Really? Just kind of I'm looking for like relatively the same size because I don't want to have pieces that are not cooked and pieces that are cooked. But the thing about it is it's going to be sitting in a soup broth. So like after we've sauteed them, it's not like being eaten right away the way like you would do a stir fry or something like that. It's going to be simmering. So it's not only is it cooking for like 45 minutes, and then simmering for several hours. And so really the end goal is just how big of a piece do you want to be eating when you go to eat it later. That's really like all you need to think about when you're dicing up your vegetables is like how big of a piece do you actually want. We'll cut this in half this time, make it a little easier on myself. Fellow lefty, yay! What kitchens have I worked in? None. My dad's kitchen, my kitchen, and then maybe my sister's kitchen. None. Is let my Sue. Most of the time, yeah. Lefties rise up. So basically what I'm doing, I guess I can better explain kind of how I'm going about processing this green onion here, now that I've gotten most of the first one chopped up. Essentially what you do, or how I like to do this, I'll cut the top off. Oop, yeah, already fell out in the middle there. Cut the bottom off. I'm going to take out this middle section, and what I like to do is just kind of cut out kind of these little membranous sections on the inside and make like one strip. And then I'll slice that open. I usually slice this into 2 pieces just because it's round and it's annoying to cut it when it's like one big strip. And then I'll make little batons, right? So we're just making like sticks and kind of going, and then that gets chopped again. And I'll do kind of the same thing with these, right? So obviously you saw me kind of chop down the sides. I'm leaving this middle section here. I don't want that. I want to have just the flesh. So that top gets tossed. And then these get cut into kind of the same shape, right, as our strips from the wall of the pepper. Okay. So same thing. So this is the bottom. So I'm just going to kind of create those strips. And they're all different sizes. And yes, that's frustrating, but no waste. I'm not in a restaurant. I don't need like everything to be like a perfect square. If it's a little bumpy, that's fine. We're cooking at home. It'll taste restaurant quality. It'll look restaurant quality. But it's like less important for me to have perfectly shaped things. It won't cost restaurant quality, that's true. That's true. And this is, I guess, for those of you who are wondering, I mean, there's seafood in this. You're buying sausage. Like, this isn't the cheapest recipe that you could make, but it makes a minimum of like 12 servings. Like 12 like full bowls of stew. And then like you add rice or something like that to it. And you could stretch that even further if you wanted. This is easily freezable. But I will totally mention this again later. I cook my shrimp. I don't leave my shrimp in the gumbo. I know that's like also a really weird thing. When I make my gumbo, I actually will put all of those shrimp into like a colander or into a strainer, and I lower it down into the stew. I let it cook, and then I'll pull them back out and have them in a separate container so that the shrimp don't fully curl and get rubbery. And then I actually store those in the refrigerator separate of the gumbo so that I can heat the gumbo up and then just toss the shrimp in to warm in the soup. It's just a better textural experience for me. If you plan to freeze the gumbo for, I think it's like up to a month. You could probably store it for a month, maybe 2 months before it starts getting like freezer burn on the top of it. It tastes a little off. So I will actually go out and buy shrimp, and I will just like cook shrimp separate and add it to the gumbo separately. It already has shrimp stock in it. You're not like that shrimp isn't going to give it that much more flavor that it's really going to be a difference. Yeah, lots of people, lots of leftovers. Aw, thanks. I'm glad you think that's smart. I don't know. I just want things to taste good all the time. Just scrape the burn off. There's still good food under there. Oh gosh. You could. Would I recommend for peak flavor? No, but edible for certain. Yeah, it is. Yeah, next day gumbo, always better. Always better, absolutely. And the cool thing, the thing that always is like, it always surprises me. I don't know why, like the number of times that I've made like stock and soups and stuff like that have like a really thick, like gelatinous stock is in the like thousands. I've made like soups and stews and stocks and stuff so many times. But every time I open up a container of gumbo next day and it's just like solid and you're like scooping out like masses and then like reheating it into a stew, it always gets to me because like not only do you have gelatin in the stocks that you're adding, you have the roux and it like thickens into like a paste. And I'm surprised every time I open up the refrigerator and open up the container and I'm like, oh, this is weird, but it's so good. How dark do I go with my roux? I do a dark chocolate roux. It will be dark, and you guys will see it. You'll see it. It takes 15, maybe 20 minutes max, but about 15 minutes is average. You can, I do a really high heat roux. It can be a little scarier if you're like worried about roux burning and like all that kind of stuff. It can be a little scarier. But it's not, for me, I would rather burn something that took 15 minutes and start over than be working on something for several hours and it burn because I'm not paying attention. And then I have to start that over. So I do a high heat roux. I have ADHD. I can't stay focused for that long to make the like low and slow roux. Can't do it. Is anybody here cooking along with me? I'm really curious. Was anybody intending to cook along but didn't get here in time? Yeah. Yep. Rule of the roux. Do not leave the pot. Do not leave the pot. Don't do it. It's not a good idea. Ooh, you're gonna make fried chicken today? That sounds good. The missus despises green peppers. It's part of the overall flavor. It's not going to be really prevalent, to be honest. Like, I know it seems like a lot, but there are a lot of ingredients in this, and it's not going to be a problem. Okay. I mean, like, when you think about it, if you're using a mirepoix, right? So if you're like making something for a French dish and you've got carrots and celery and onions, do you really individually taste those things? You'd be 30 minutes behind. I was wondering about that, is like, do I just chop too fast? But like, I don't know. I figure if it's a video that people can pause if they need more time and then like keep going. And I was trying, like, this is obviously like a huge slowdown. Like, I could have had this all already kind of done and been like, you need this and you need this and you need this. But I figured I'd give people a chance, right? I'd give people a chance. And I feel like gumbo, I feel like the people who attempt gumbo are the people who are already like, they're like, I could do that. I could do a gumbo. I want to try a gumbo. Like, because it feels, gumbo always feels like it's a huge undertaking. It's not. Let me tell you now, like, it is not. It's just time, prep, but it's like a really easy dish to make. I feel like the time that it takes for either passive cooking, like for the passive cooking portion of it, and the time it takes for the prep is the thing that stops people. And the sheer number of ingredients, like, is the thing that stops people from making gumbo, but it's actually a really easy dish. It's a really simple home-cooked meal. And much like making your own meatballs or and doing like Sunday gravy or something like that, like, they're really easy home-cooked meals that I wish more people would make, but it can be daunting, especially if you don't cook often, right? If you have a stew, then your prep isn't that long. That's true if you have two people chopping at the same time, right? End product is absolutely worth it. I 100% agree. Okay, so for the celery, so that we have similar shaped pieces, I'm going to be cutting my ribs down into thirds or fourths, depending on how wide they are. But basically, I'm just going to be kind of sliding my knife along and attempting to not, like, this one's going to go in four. There we go. Attempting to keep it straight, which I always find difficult to do. It is 1,000% worth it. It was okay. So we have a friend. I guess because I know people who are going to be in here have absolutely no idea who any of the people that I'm chatting with are. I have a friend of mine who likes to come into these streams and make punny jokes, and he's posted one. I'm going to read it. Hey, Carrie, I made gumbo last night with only sausage and okra. It wasn't good or bad. It was mediocre. Mediocre. I like it. Mediocre. I love it. I love a good pun. That's so good. Puns are the best. Yo, I'm a friend. Yeah, of course you're a friend. Come on. Come on. Okay. So now we've got our little sticks here, and we're just gonna go chop. I feel like I'm not on my knife enough here. Let's choke up a little bit more. There we go. The onions are the hard part. Onions make you cry if your knife's not sharp enough. This is cool. I've heard that you do this for your Little Spoon business, but never actually got to see it. Awesome. I'm glad you're here. Yeah, most of the streams that I've done, like this is probably the first time that we've seriously like kind of branded and shouted out a live stream from like Instagram and from my Little Spoon account. We are actually streaming on my husband's Twitch account right now. But in the future, because I do really want to keep doing these. I really like the casualness of this kind of style of cooking, and like not having everything prepped and just kind of like hanging out and chatting and cooking. I think it's just like so much more comfortable. That like, I don't know, like I think I'll be doing these from like my YouTube account in the future. But like right now, this is where we live.
So follow our YouTube.
Oh yeah, so follow my YouTube. Just _little_spoon. That's where I am on Instagram. That's where I am on YouTube. There's literally no content in there yet, but this will be one of the first videos that we put in there. I think we're gonna go back because I've done several streams from my husband's platform. And so I think what we're gonna do is take all of our old VODs from previous cooking streams and move them over. So I'll have a bunch of stuff in there. Yeah, I also have a website. This recipe lives on that website. If you want to make it in the future, it's on Instagram and it's on my website, alittlespoon.com. Easy enough to understand, easy enough, right? A little spoon. We got it. There are no ads on my website. There is usually 1 to 2 paragraphs before the recipe, so there's no scrolling, or very, very little scrolling. And it is fully funded by Patreon. Because ads suck. A branded chef knife when? No, I don't think so. Maybe not for several years. Okay, so onions. Onions can be scary. They are not scary. They can feel scary, but they are not scary. You're gonna cut off, oh my goodness. Wow, knife. What are we doing here? There's a hard onion. Oh, it was really thick. There's a lot of layers there. You're gonna cut off the bottom so you have a flat surface. So we aren't rolling around, very important. Okay, and then what you're gonna do is you're gonna cut halfway through. That's super thick. So that you have 2 halves of an onion. You are going to cut this side off first. Leave the roots intact. The roots are what hold the onion slices together. If you cut this off when you are attempting to dice your onion, it will go all over the place. So I'm going to take this peel off. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just make individual slices all the way down. I'm going to go about halfway and kind of come up the way you would like butterfly chicken. And then I'm just going to dice. Ooh. Hey, what do you know? Keep the tops for your stock in the future. Yes, making your onions colder.
Uh-oh.
What?
Bots.
Uh-oh.
Thanks, Amanda.
All right, we're still just chilling over here. If you put your onions in the freezer or in the refrigerator, It will help a little bit. Not saying it won't. It will help a little bit with just how much liquid is allowed to kind of like move around and seep around, and how, because like obviously on a atomic level, right? So let's get into a little bit of the science here. On an atomic level, the warmer something is, the more the atoms are moving around, right? So if you cool it off, then you're going to have less moisture, less atoms kind of like moving around, getting in your eyes. I'm totally going to cry while we're doing this. And kind of just like being a nuisance, right? All of those sulfuric compounds that are escaping when you break the cellular structure of your onion. That's what makes you tear up, is these sulfuric compounds. The other thing that you can do to help with your onions and all of the teary eyes and stuff like that is have really sharp knives. That is probably the single best thing that you can do. I'm going to save this piece. The single best thing you can do is to have a really sharp knife. Because what happens is you have a dull knife, you're crushing that cellular structure, which is creating even more of those compounds kind of getting into the air and like really making you tear up. So if you have a really sharp knife, you're slicing right through those, and you have like less breakage of the cellular structure. If you have contacts, wear contacts. Honestly, if I had put contacts on today, I would not be tearing up at all. That honestly is the single best way to never tear up, is to wear contacts. Has nothing to do with science other than the fact that you've covered your eyes. I honestly had no idea. I had no idea about how bad onions were. I thought I was just like amazingly immune to all of the issues that people would have when they cry. I'm like, who cries? Who cries? And then my eyes started getting like really dry in my old age. And about a decade ago, my eyes started getting really dry, and I couldn't wear contacts for very long. So I started just wearing glasses, like solely glasses, unless I'm like going out to a wedding or whatever. And like, this is not as sharp as I want it to be. It's kind of freaking me out. So oh, that's way better. Whoops. I didn't wear contacts, and I started cutting an onion, and that was a mess. I was like, oh no, this is horrible. What is going on here? Sometimes if I want really small slices, I'll actually do like 2 cuts and get it even smaller. But we're good with this. Is it a leopard print knife? No. Oh, because of the... Nah, that's just people being fancy and trying to make something look more expensive. It's Damascus steel, so it's rippled. American onions are huge. This is considered like a medium onion, maybe medium large if I was being generous. So again, cut the bottom off, save this for stock. Going over in a bowl over there. You've got a flat surface, cut down halfway. We're gonna peel, and then we're gonna cut. White onions are usually bigger than red. Really? I feel like red onions are always ginormous. I have like a half a red onion in the refrigerator. I think onions just come in all shapes and sizes. The biggest onion is probably a Spanish onion, though. Like Spanish onions are like that's what's used when you go out to like the chain restaurants, or like if you go to a carnival or something like that in the United States, and we have like Outback Steakhouse, and they do like bloomin' onions, right? And you have like those battered and deep fried onions. Those are Spanish onions. I like to use yellow onions or like sweet onions, like a Vidalia onion or something like that in this recipe. You could use a white onion. It's going to have a crisper, cleaner flavor. than you're gonna have with a yellow or a Vidalia, like a sweet onion.
Sam's onions are bigger.
I don't understand.
Andouille Hill?
Oh, Sam. Yeah, I can fix that. We read Holes.
I can fix that.
We read the kids the book Holes, and my husband and the kids and I all watched the movie the other day. And
Sam the Onion Man.
Andouille Hill. I can fix that. Yeah.
His onions were huge.
Those were definitely fake onions.
No.
Yes. Oh my God. Okay, it's starting. I got through an onion and a half before we had any tears. I feel like that's pretty good. No, I'm just gonna tear up along with all the people who are cooking along with me and having the same issues. This is real life. This is real life, friends. Spanish onions are good for French onion soup. The more variety of onions you have for a French onion soup, the better it's going to be. Because you'll have so much more flavor, like more variety, and just a better all around flavor if you have different onions, different flavored onions, instead of just like one style of onion for the whole soup. You missed what recipe this is. We're making gumbo. We're doing a cook along. I've got nothing prepped, doing the whole thing, minus chicken stock from start to finish. We've got shrimp stock on the back burner behind me. And now I am prepping everything so that when I make the roux and get the gumbo going, we're all ready to go. Oh, goodness. I'm going to wipe this off. Ooh, I feel messy. Breathing through your mouth instead of your nose helps? Really? Oh, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, but everything goes to the same sinus cavity. But like, I guess your nose is closer to your eyes, I guess, so maybe. Hey, that's a good theory if any I've heard. So.
Don't breathe,
I'm seeing a little bit of action back here. I'm just turning down my stovetop. It finally started boiling. So I'm putting this down to like a low, medium low. I guess we can do this real quick because I'm going to come back to prepping. Just so you guys can see where we're at. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to skim off some of the gunk at the top. Whew. Let's get a little bowl. You don't have to come back here. You don't have to come back here. I'm going to be... We can all kind of see what I'm doing. Oh, you're okay. Kind of what I'm going to do is I'm just going to like move the foam over to one place and then scoop. Nice. Wait, on YouTube? Oh, okay. That's okay. Okay. Ooh, I'm still feeling those onions. Okay. So this, let's move all of our scraps. All of this is going into my freezer later. Okay, so we got all this. Let's do our umami paste here. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to do spices and then our paste. Our paste is going to have 4 cloves of roasted garlic. It's about 2 teaspoons worth of roasted garlic. This was roasted the other day. What I usually do is I don't usually keep it in a bowl like this. I just didn't get around to finalizing it. What I like to do is use chocolate molds. Kind of weird, but it works. These are each a teaspoon. And so I will take a spoon and kind of like smear in the roasted garlic. And one of these is 2 cloves of garlic. So if I'm ever using a recipe and it says use a clove of garlic or 2 cloves of garlic or 4 cloves of garlic, I know that like a half is 1, and each teaspoon is essentially like roasted garlic worth of 2 cloves of garlic. So yeah. And I like that it's like it's already mush. I love roasted garlic. Okay, so honestly, I'm not gonna measure today. I don't feel like it. I need 4 cloves of roasted garlic. That's about right. You need 1 anchovy, which I need a fork for. Yeah, a wet or damp cloth next to when you're cutting onions, just kind of like being able to soak up some of the juice from the onions while you're cutting it helps take away some of the stuff that's gonna like get into your eyes. So that's actually that's a good one. I like that one. Amy wears swimmer's goggles when she cuts up onions. Love it. All right, so an anchovy. We did it. Look, if you guys can dehead shrimp and devein shrimp and pull the exoskeleton off of a shrimp, you can eat an anchovy and you can smush an anchovy. It's fine. You can do it. It's so good. So basically what you're going to do is take your knife and just kind of do one of these. You can do a fork if you don't want to use a knife. But like either way. You can chop it first. Yeah, we're just going to kind of do one of those. I'm going to give it a little bit of a chop. You can do a fork or a knife, either way. Like we're already pretty much at a paste. Fork works too. So that looks like. And that goes in. Look at that, done. Easy. Okay, and then our white miso. I'm just doing half a teaspoon. And then what I'm going to do is just mix it. And there's our little umami bomb. So stick that there. For spices, we're doing a 1/4 teaspoon of cumin. I buy whole spices and then I will toast and grind them kind of like as needed. So this has already been toasted and ground. Okay. Where did the lid go? Oh, there it is. We got half a teaspoon. I love these guys. My little stacking measuring spoons here. They're magnetic, so they stick to each other, which is nice because they don't like go all over my drawer. And then like if I'm using, like I'll use one side for liquid and one side for solids so that they're like never mixing and you don't get like, you don't have to like clean it and then dry it before you can use it again. You can just flip it around. We thank the anchovy for its sacrifice. Yes, we do. Half a teaspoon. Let's see. Like 1/8 of a teaspoon, so basically like half of a 1/4 teaspoon. There you go. Of the celery seed. And then we need some pepper. We need a teaspoon. So I'm going to be spinning for a little bit.
I'm buying you.
You have these same measuring spoons? I love them.
I'm buying stuff to make these streams easier. Or like just this in general easier.
Okay. Yep. Okay, about a teaspoon. Okay. The last thing that we have to do is our okra. So I'm gonna move these back to the fridge so that they can not go bad on me. You guys can hear me in my refrigerator. Oh, sausage. I need to cut this up too. Oh, mistakes were made. I did not defrost one of my sausages. I don't know if I can slice through these. Okay, I really, because I live in like a random state, not near Louisiana, and I can't get like homemade or like locally made andouille sausage. This is probably my favorite brand. I think they do a really good job with their seasoning. I'm actually going to take this out of the packaging and then put it in my microwave to defrost. Ugh. Good God. Okay. Whew. That's a workout. Hot sauce for gumbo. I like to use Crystal. Crystal has a lot of celery flavor in it. It's kind of like citrusy, celery-ish. And it's probably my favorite thing to go with like a seafood gumbo. There is also, I mean, if you want, you could get like Louisiana hot sauce. It's literally, the brand is Louisiana. You could just throw straight cayenne in it if you wanted to. Oh, there you go. Carry cooking stream when I'm about to start getting my braised beef for dinner started. Exactly what you needed. Nice. Nice. Okay. Where is the, oh, there it is. Okay. We need, hear me sniffling those onions. I can't get this side up. Okay, we're just gonna use the knife because like, such is life, I guess. All right, so I'm putting these on a plate. I'm gonna stick them in the microwave on defrost so that I can get them defrosted enough to slice through them because they are still frozen. So I've got 2 packages of this. You need about, let's see, what do I have here? I do about 1 1/2, 2 pounds of andouille sausage. There's out about, what, 0.9 kilograms? 2? And 1 pound, or about half a kilogram of smoked sausage. Crystal's not sold in Connecticut for some reason. That's weird. Okay. All right, so we got those out. Push all this aside. Slice up my okra, which I'm gonna need another plate for.
Well, yeah, the high bit rate.
Yeah.
I love where recordings are.
Okay, so for okra, we're just gonna cut the top off, cut the tail off, and then this is what we are going to be slicing. We're going to be cutting them into about a 1/4 inch, so like a 2 centimeter slice. Right? Is that right? Where are my metric people?
What was the question?
1/4 of an inch is what in centimeters? Basically that. This is what we're going for. There you go.
0.65.
Oh gosh, why did I say 2? That's huge. So a little over half a centimeter. There you go. Oh, I doubled it, 1/4 and then a half. That's what it was. Because a centimeter is what? 2.54 times something like that. They don't have okra in the EU? That's sad. Really? That makes me sad. Still frozen. I'm not cooking that. We're defrosting it. We are defrosting it. You've never seen it. Never seen it. Really? Oh, man. Yes, you do. Okay, you just have to know where to look, apparently. We just need to know where to look. This one's fibrous. Oh my goodness. Okay. OG gumbo is literally just okra with pulverized okra and more okra. That's true. Okra's so good. I love roasted okra. Or like fried okra. Honestly, okra. Just okra. So I've got 2 of these packages that I am going to cut up. You're looking at about like 1.5 pounds of okra, 7 cups. If you are on metric, it's about 680 grams worth of okra. You guys can see that it's like sticky and a little slimy. So that's kind of what this is, what it thickens the stew. If you don't cook okra down, it will thicken your gumbo. I really like the flavor, but I wanted to have a roux. I wanted to use filet. And so what I wanted to do was keep the flavor without the thickening part of it. And so I cook it down and I get it like roasted, and I'll pan fry it up, and then that gets tossed into the soup. So you still get the flavor, you still get the pieces of okra, but they don't impact the texture. It's just vegetal. Yeah, it's kind of like if a green bean and a green pepper had a baby. That's kind of what okra tastes like. Like a mix between, or like it, I guess, like, what did you look up? I said green bean and green pepper, but online it says eggplant and green pepper. This could probably afford a little bit longer. Gumbo yum. Yeah. Hey, Mav. How are you? Yeah, I stole Lep's platform today. I took over. Okra is slimy. It is. If you don't cook it, you can cook it so that it is not slimy. You can do that. Any herb recommendations for braised beef? What style? Like, what are you just want to make a braised beef, but you don't know like what style you want to do? Like Italian versus like Asian versus like, what are you like? Are you going like Chinese, Korean? Like, what are you doing? Mix. Like a mix of whatever? You ever wonder how humans figured out how to eat okra? Hunger. I'm assuming hunger is what did that. And then you're like, oh, actually, this green thing is not that bad. Go more European. Gonna take the liquid, make a gravy. Okay. For beef, I mean, I do a traditional mirepoix. Here I am talking about a different recipe in the middle of a recipe. I do a traditional mirepoix, so celery, onions, carrots. Sweat that down. I would probably use garlic, maybe a little bit of cumin. Let's see. I mean, I don't really like, as a finisher, I'd probably use like parsley. You could use bay leaf. I'd probably throw in like diced tomatoes at some point while you're like cooking it in the liquid. Like if you're just trying to do something super simple. Are all your trimmings going into a stock? All of the stuff for the traditional mirepoix are. They're in a bowl. They'll be used in stocks at a later date. Does frozen okra work? Honestly, I don't think it, I'm not sure it will, but you can figure that out. You can figure that out by defrosting it and then seeing what the texture is. If you defrost it, so most of the time when vegetables are frozen, they maintain their freshness, but when you freeze something, the liquid in the cells expands. And then when you defrost it, all of that stuff kind of contracts and stays mushy. And okra does not escape that. And so there's a good chance that when you defrost your okra, it will be a little bit mushy. Now it is going into a stew, so that's not really a huge deal because this will hold a little bit more crispiness than like a frozen okra will. But I don't know what the slime factor is on okra that's been frozen, and then because I'm assuming it's probably pre-chopped. So I'm not sure like kind of where the slime factor is. I wouldn't recommend pan sauteing frozen okra because it will have a much larger moisture content than fresh okra will, since that cellular structure has kind of been broken down. You have a lot more liquid, and so it's not going to saute up very well. You could maybe roast it in the oven at 400 Fahrenheit and see what kind of char you can get there if you really want to have that like roasted okra flavor. So I would maybe recommend that over doing anything on a stovetop with a pan. But if you like have no sliminess, you can just toss it right into your stew without doing the part of even cooking it. Slime factor is a technical term. It is. It is a technical term. Oh, the andouille smells really good now that I've defrosted it. Yeah, I wouldn't like, you can definitely just like defrost it and toss it right into the stew. It may thicken it a little bit more. It'll have more vegetal flavor than basically what I'm doing here because I'm gonna pan fry it. So I'll get like char on these that won't be in your stew. But that just means you're gonna have a lighter flavor. It doesn't mean that it's gonna be better or worse in any way. It's just different. And it's not a big deal. Yep. Yeah, it's just. You encase the andouille and use it in a lot of stuff? Yeah. Oh, that's such a good call. I would love to do like a patatas bravas with like uncased andouille and an egg. Yum. That sounds really nice, actually. I think I'm hungry. 3 pieces left. We're almost done. If you're cooking along, how you doing? Have I ever thought about using a mandolin for all this okra? That is a great idea. But I feel like it would probably take just as much time. I'm pretty quick with a knife. So I don't think that it would do that much for timing. But what I like to do if I'm like if I need like thin slices of something, so like if I'm pickling cucumbers or onions, honestly, if I'm grating a lot of cheese or something like that, I have a Breville food processor that has a shredder and slicer attachment, and it goes up to, I think, 8 centimeters. It goes from like 0.3 centimeters to 8 centimeters, and I'll use that. But I prefer to use that when I am like breaking down kind of like a larger item. When they're small like this, it's kind of like weird to try to keep putting like little by little by little. So it's just easier, honestly, to do it with a knife. So this is done. We're gonna slice up our sausage, and then we've prepped. We've essentially prepped everything. I'll strain off my my stock when I'm ready for it. Just before I get my roux going, like I'll pull out the roux stuff, get my shrimp stock ready. I've got my chicken stock already out. My ale's already out. The last thing we need to do is really just get our ingredients ready for the roux and slice up our sausage, and then we'll go. We'll make it happen. You still have to cut off the tail and the head of the okra, and that's true. That's a good point. That's a very good point. Okay, so this is a smoked sausage. I would tell you to just go with a like whatever just says like the packaging just says smoked sausage. I wouldn't go for a specific like hickory or mesquite or anything like that. If you were going to choose between the two, I would absolutely say hickory. Mesquite is going to be too sweet. It's going to change the whole flavor profile of the gumbo. So just look for a packaging that says like smoked sausage. I think it's not necessary. You could use just andouille sausage if you wanted to. But a good like smoked sausage or like summer sausage or something like that is just going to give it a little bit of that like smoky kind of deep flavor that you would be missing if you were doing just andouille. But it's honestly like this is a preference. This is just an absolute preference for me. I like having the two different styles of sausage and that difference of flavor. Let me get this tail. What do I use to grind my spices? I just have a Krups like coffee grinder. I'll pull it out for you. Maybe. Nope. I got the lid. I didn't get the base. Hold on. We're going. I got this guy. The brand is Krups. I really like it. It's quieter than my last one. It's more powerful than my last one. Either that or I'll use a mortar and pestle, depending on what I'm doing. And then I'm going to be cutting this on the bias. So we have these nice little diagonal slices. It just gives more surface area when we go to pan fry these later. More flavor, more energy, more flavor. Recommending good kitchen knives. Okay, I do really like my Miyabi, but even though I have, I guess, I wouldn't say I have large hands. I have long fingers, but I don't have small hands. I probably have like normal to slightly larger female hands. But female hands tend to be smaller than male hands. And this is good for me, but the handle is a little too big for my hand. If you're gonna go and you're looking for kitchen knives, I would tell you to make sure that you can handle the knife ahead of time. Hold it in your palm, make sure that your grip is good. When you hold a knife, you essentially are pinching right here on your blade. So it needs to fit here. And so this goes just a little bit too wide for me. It's a really good knife. It's really sharp. It keeps its edge well. But for me, when I have lots and lots of prep and I'm not just doing like standard cooking, this knife gets a little rough on my grip and it hurts. My hand starts to hurt after a while. So I actually have Cutco knives that I have had, I kid you not, for like 15 years now, that I really like. And I know I don't know, I like the Cutco knife I have. It fits my hand perfect. It's my prep workhorse. I really would like to get a shun knife. I would also really like to attempt a global 2 knife, or like a global G2 knife, I guess, because I've heard really good things about those for like women and people with smaller grip. So like those are kind of the knives that I've been looking into. I really like Wusthof knives for strength. So like if you're looking for something like deboning, or for like a cleaver, or something like that, Wusthof is like a super good brand, at least to me and in my experience, for something that's just going to be like super solid. And like I would not use it for precision, Wusthof. I would not use Wusthof for precision. I would probably go closer into a different type of steel, something that retains its edge better, when you're looking for like sharpness, flexibility of the knife, and your ability to kind of like work your way around things. But if you're just like going in on the action and you just need to be able to like cut something that is dense, Wusthof is a great brand for that. Honestly, like a knife is so personal, that like I know that there are like main brands and stuff out there, but if it works for you, it works for you. Like, you know. Love my global small woman hands knife. See? Yeah, maybe that's the play. I've been looking at global knives for a really long time. A knife selling pyramid scheme? Yeah, that's what Cutco is. And it is. And I know, but doesn't mean that they don't have good products. And when you buy your knives, don't buy a set. Buy each knife separately. Like sets usually throw in a bunch of knives that you don't need. Like you need a chef's knife. You maybe need a paring knife, a boning knife, something serrated for like a slicer for like tomatoes or bread. And honestly, anything outside of that is extra for me. Like buy the knives you're going to be using. Flashbacks to the 20-piece knife bundle. Yeah, that is not the play. God, I haven't even cooked anything and it smells good in here. An Asian vegetable cleaver, same. I think like I'm at the point where like I really just want to start being able to just chop the crap out of stuff. Why are we turning? We're getting my board's a little slippery. Concentrate. I don't want to slice myself. You grabbed an $8 boning and utility knife combo from Sam's a few weeks ago and they get used. Yeah, like honestly, and that's the thing is it's like you can buy a cheap knife. The blade's not going to maintain as long. So you're going to have to make sure that you take care of it. It may break easier. But if you're willing to put the time into that, and honestly, if it's so cheap, like use it for as long as you can use it and then just get a new one. Like it's not rocket science. But if you are going to invest in something that will last. We're washing hands. Who's singing happy birthday with me? That's prep. Okay, so I am absolutely going to use my kitchen scale. Where did I put it? Oh, it's underneath the recipe. I'm using my kitchen scale for this part. I do equal, let's see, where are we? So I do equal volume on my roux. Traditionally, technically, it's supposed to be equal weight. So 240 milliliters of canola oil and essentially 240 milliliters or 1 cup. So 1 cup of each of them. So I'm doing it by volume, but I am going to weigh this out because I think that that's important. But essentially, what I'm looking for is 240 milliliters of this. Milliliters and grams are 1 to 1. It's going to be 205 grams of flour. That is the happy place that I've found for my roux, is not to do an exact 1 to 1, but I do want to have the numbers that I have in my recipe. So it's 240 milliliters of this, so 1 cup of this, and it's honestly a little bit, it's going to be more than a cup. It's more than a cup. So it's 205 grams of flour. Yeah. So I'm just going to do that in like a bowl. I'll have them separate. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just weigh out my flour right now. So let's get this a little bit out of the way so you can kind of see what I'm up to here. So I've zeroed it out. I've got it on grams. And this is why metric is fun. Huh. Do I have to open up a bag of flour? I totally do. Love it. We need more flour. Oh. I shop at a big box store. Good Lord. Who wants to see me make a mess on camera? Okay. We'll stop there for now. So a single cup of sifted flour, right? So like aerated flour, which is what you would use for baking. So whenever you see a recipe in baking, it's actually sifted, or what you would call like a scoop and pour method. You never just take your scoop and like scoop in, level, and go, because you'll probably have between 20 and 30% more flour than you actually need for your recipe. So if you find that you're baking cookies or a cake or something like that, and for whatever reason they come out dry or they don't spread and it doesn't look the same and it just, like, doesn't feel right, if you are scooping into your flour and then leveling, that's probably why. You're supposed to take a separate scoop, so I always like leave this scoop in my flour. You take a separate scoop, pour into, and then level. That way you're not compacting the flour into, which is why metric tends to be so much better for baking, because it's just can be very inconsistent if you're not using a precise weight. That volume can be so different. So a typical cup of flour, typical cup of flour is about 128 to 130 grams when it comes to like baking and doing that kind of scoop and pour method. So this is about a cup and a half of flour for that 205 grams if you're using imperial, but metric is the 205, and you just pour in and you get to 205 and you're essentially done. So I don't have to worry about like trying to weigh or trying to like scoop and be perfect and all that kind of stuff. All right, so there's that. And then by volume, I'm just going to use this guy. I am gonna need, let's pour my ale out. This is the fun part. Okay, so I like to use amber ale in gumbo. I searched 3 different places and could not find an amber ale, so I just went with a blonde ale. Also fine. Ale is the most important part. You could maybe go into a lager if you really needed to, but ale is going to be the best bet. That maltiness is just a really nice added layer of flavor in a gumbo. You could use a red ale. I have a blonde ale here. I think blonde or amber are probably the place where I would be happiest. But just that overall flavor is kind of what I'm looking for. So let's, I'm gonna like pour it in here and then just like toss it in. And that'll get like poured in later. And now I get to drink this. I have a chef tax here. And I get to have the remainders. This is from a local place. This is a local brewery. They're called Deep. This is their Spear Pressure blonde ale. It's delicious. Everything there is delicious. If you're ever in Tallahassee, go visit Deep and have some of their beer. They do a great job with all their stuff. So I've got basically everything prepped. We're going to cook this off and cook this off now, and then we're going to get our gumbo going. So I'm gonna make my way over here, move some pots around. I honestly may have 2 pans going at the same time because I'm not sure how else this is gonna work. Let's see. I know the view's not on the right place, but let's move this over. Okay, so let me pull out another pan. Got a lot here to cook. Got this. And then I'm gonna need that again for the oil. So basically now I can just start cooking. Okay. Set everything out. Need salt over here. And we are basically ready to go. Okay, so you guys are gonna get the back of me for a while, and I apologize for that. And we're about to call my husband in here so he can move the camera around. Hey, hon? Oh no, he can't hear me. I'm gonna mute for a second so I can go get him. You guys don't have to hear me call. Where are you? Did you choose this time to like go to the bathroom? Okay, I can't find him, so we're gonna just keep going. Oh, I see what he did. Cool. We're gonna go. I apologize. We'll get the camera over here as soon as I can find him, but I don't know how to move this camera. And he didn't leave anything over here. So there's no way for me to move it. So let's just get started, and I can talk more about everything once we actually get the camera over here. Basically what I'm gonna do is I've got 2 pans. Honestly, I would typically do this all in one pan, but in order to save time and be able to do things at a faster pace, I'm gonna go ahead and gonna use 2 separate pans, one for the meat, one for the okra. Traditionally, I would just cook the okra and then I would cook the meat in the same pan that the okra was cooked in. But we're gonna just go. So I've got a carbon steel pan here and a stainless steel pan here. I would not suggest using a nonstick pan for this. If you want to use enameled cast iron, that's also fine. It holds heat really well. The point of this is to get kind of those charred roasty bits on it, onto our okra and onto our sausage. So that's kind of really what I'm looking for, is like a nice thick pan that I can use at high heat, and I don't need to like treat carefully. So we're just gonna bring some of this temperature up. I'm gonna get these pans hot, and we're gonna water test them to make sure that they are relatively nonstick. Charred roasty bits, yum. Let me text him and see where the heck he went. He had to have gone somewhere. I mean, he still exists as a person in the world, right? Nope, alrighty. Whew. I have an induction cooktop. So if you're hearing noise that's like kind of high pitched, it's because it's induction. He's not in the stream room. I checked. I walked in there. Yeah, I have a portable one that I bought for filming, and it is so loud. Like, my cooktop isn't quite as loud as that one is, but it gets pretty crazy sometimes. Okay, so basically what I'm doing right now is I'm just getting them really hot, and I'm flicking water onto the surface of my pans. I want to see water kind of bead up and dance around on my pan to make sure that they're ready to go. And we're getting there. We're getting there. As soon as you see the water kind of like ball up and like roll around on the top of your pan, at that point, you can essentially do whatever you want with it. And what you're doing when you're getting it that hot before you're adding in oil or any of your other stuff, this back pan is ready. Before you're adding like oil or any of your veg or whatever you're cooking down, that heat. So we talked a little bit about how atoms will move around, right? And so when you're heating up your metal, those atoms move around and they fill up gaps and pits and holes and things like that in that surface. And so it creates an even more even cooking surface, so you get less stick. And it doesn't make it like, it could be. In theory, it's like fully nonstick. But you have to have like really clean pans, which I don't, because I'm bad at taking care of my stuff. Okay, both these pans are ready. Left's been a figment of our imagination this whole time. He has. I'm gonna pour some in here just so that I have better. I really should get oil into a squeeze bottle. We're gonna do that so I don't have to use this whole thing. Okay, so now I'm gonna put some oil in both pans. You don't quite need it as much in the one with the meat because there's so much fat in the sausage, but okay, and then we're gonna just toss it in. And I'm gonna actually increase the temperature of the of my pan because now I've put all of this cold stuff into it. And I'm gonna do this on this back one. I have a 12-inch carbon steel and I have a 10-inch stainless steel. I'm gonna do half the meat at a time because I don't wanna overcrowd the pan too much. I touched pork, wash your hands. Okay, so things that I prefer. I really like flat spatulas when you're cooking anything that you need to kind of like fry and move around. Jesus. I prefer them over silicone. Silicone tends to kind of bend and move around a lot. And especially when you're like, when you're making like the roux, is like you don't want any of that splatter. There's just like less kind of stuff getting like thrown out and moved around. Like less agitation, I guess, overall. And then you can scrape a flat surface so much easier if you've got any like sticking. And as the okra on top kind of steams, you will see some of that sliminess and stickiness coming out. But as it's roasting and cooking, it will go away. So like, it feels like it's gonna get worse. Don't get scared. It will be fine. Just like each piece will kind of get roasted individually and that sliminess gets cooked out. You haven't had any eggs stick as long as you keep it medium, yeah. Yep, once you allow your pan to come up to like the right temperature, you're fine. And as long as you keep it properly like greased, like it's not a big deal. Ooh, okra smells good. I'm also going to add a little bit of salt to the okra. I don't use cast iron, I guess, so therefore, the scotch pads. I wouldn't suggest, like if you have a pan that's seasoned, I wouldn't suggest using something super abrasive on it, unless you are like trying to take the seasoning off of it and like get it to a point where like you don't have an issue anymore with like, I guess like if you're having an issue where like you don't have a nice flat like bottom or whatever the heck, in order for your food to kind of like not stick. Like if you're having issues with sticking or something like that, and you like want to take the seasoning off of it, then maybe. And I'm just kind of like letting this sit so like the bottom can develop that fond, develop that the char on the bottom. So like you move it around and then you just kind of let it go for a little bit and then come back to it. I don't know where he is. I texted him. No idea. Stainless can do almost the same thing as cast iron. It totally can, Honestly, like, so the thing about cast iron is like it holds heat so much better. Like cast iron is great for frying foods. It's great to like bake in. It's great for braising if it's enameled. It's great for a whole lot of things, right? But the thing about cast iron is that you can't have like acidic things in it or it completely takes the seasoning off of it. And so stainless steel kind of comes in there where like it's not as thick, it doesn't hold heat as well, but you can use it for like anything, and so it's like a much more universal like stovetop item to have like stainless steel. It's just like such a more universal pot or pan than like cast iron is. And for as crazy durable as cast iron seems, if you drop it, it cracks and it breaks. And you have to like treat it like relatively delicately, and like pay attention to the things that you're going to be cooking before you decide like which pan you're going to be using. Because like you can't use cast iron for a couple of different things depending on what you're going to be cooking with. My first batch of sausage is almost done. And the okra is about halfway there. You use cast iron for pan pizzas, yum. Yeah, as long as your cast iron is seasoned well, you can do almost anything with it. Like I said, it just depends on like what ingredients you're going to be putting into it that are going to like determine like if you should use it or not. Yes, I did know that my microwave and oven clocks are not the same. My kids use it all the time. They're like, "What time is it?" And I'll say the time like by looking at one clock, and they're like, "No, it's not." And they'll say the other time, and I'm like, "Okay, come on." Hey, can you move the camera to the stovetop, please? He's back. I guess for people who are wanting to see, we've got our first batch here. Ooh. Okay, so he's got it on the okra. Cool. So basically, like you can see, I've got like nice charred bits. Whoop, pull you out, maybe not. Pull. So you got like nice charred bits on these guys. And we're actually almost done. This is almost done here. There's still some, like you can see some stringiness. And that's basically from the pieces that have steamed and haven't like gotten any of that like seared bottom on it. But most of it will be done, and that's where I want it to be. Because I don't want to cook this to like a mush. I still want it to have like some structural integrity, but I want that char. And I can smell this getting really roasted. Whoop. Ow, lost a sausage. There we go. Okay, we're done. Let's pull this off. That's where we want it. Oh, we're heavy. Good Lord. Okay. I'm gonna move some of this over as well, so you can have it on the one pan instead of both. Okay. So now we're just gonna get this roasted up. I'm gonna let that go. I'm going to strain my shrimp stock right now, and then we'll get ready to actually start assembling and layering our gumbo. You see Kirkland? What's a Kirkland product? You see a Kirkland product in here? Oh, my oil? Yeah, I guess that's true.
I'll make Kate some tortellini.
Okay, that's fine.
How's that beer going?
Beer's good. You want some?
No.
Okay, to our shrimp stock, which, yay, shrimp stock. Ooh, more in camera. There's our shrimp stock. I guess, you know what I can do? Where should I put that? A little okra stowaway. Maybe I can wait. I'll wait so that I can do it all on one camera. We'll let that keep going. In my head, I'm like, oh, we should just do things as we can to save time, but it'll be better for everybody if I do the shrimp stock next. So I want to cook these and get some char on them. Again, added flavor. Is that a beer sponsor? No, but I wish. This is a local brewery. I was talking about this a little bit earlier. I like to use amber ale in my gumbos. Could not find an amber ale at any stores. So I went to my local place because I really like their beer. And I knew they had a blonde ale that is one of their core beers. And so I picked that up to put into my gumbo. Pretty happy with this. I think this is about ready to go. And basically what I'm going to start doing is just kind of like lining everything up according to use so that I can just pull as needed. Sorry. You're back with your chicken sandwich. How is it? Okay. Happy with that. Okay. So basically what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to strain this out. And I'm going to use, let's see, get some tongs. I feel like I should use, oh, I didn't buy big tongs. Okay, that's fine. I got this. We'll do some of the big pieces and kind of pull out the larger stuff and toss it. Hey, here's my little sachet. Comes out in like one thing. I'm going to strain this too. Like, I'm just wanting to get all of the big pieces out so that it's easier when I go to strain it. And I'm not like pressing down on any of this. I'm just kind of letting it drip a little bit and then tossing it. So like if this were chicken stock right now, I'd be all in here like pulling off pieces of chicken and like eating all of the vegetables. Second one. As much of this out as I can, and then I will strain. I think that's probably pretty good. Okay. Let's get our big guy. This is my like braising, bulk cooking, soup stock making pot. It's a 9 1/4 quart enameled cast iron. I'm obsessed with it. I have an 8-quart stock pot and was looking to get something bigger. And I ended up with this and I love it to pieces. What are we cooking? We're cooking gumbo. Thanks for joining us. I feel like every time I do this, I like end up using my forearm to like pull or to hold it. Cast iron can get so heavy. And carbon steel. It's like they're like, oh, carbon steel is a lighter weight, easier to manipulate pan than cast iron's gonna be. And I'm like, they're both heavy. Okay, so mise en place. Get everything ready to go, right? Everything ready to go. We're bringing all of our ingredients over. Everything that we've prepped. Okay. So, got my spices, some liquid, My shrimp stock will be over here in just a minute. And then all of the vegetables, my mirepoix that I will be cooking down in my roux. Okay, so we've got our oil. I need a cup of oil, like I said, 240 milliliters. It is roux time. Would I describe a dark roux smell as popcorny? I think so. I think you could say that. I think you could say that. Okay. Now, I'm not going to turn this on yet because I want to strain out my stock first. I literally want everything to be done before I move into the last part. Everything to be done. Everything. But it is 6 cups, so I need a bowl for that. And I need... Do you know where my strainer went? Is it outside still? Did it get left outside? Can you check so that I don't have to leave stream?
Hey. Okay. You're fine right there. As long as you're fine no matter where you go.
We lost the strainer. Is it out there? Oh, nope, found it. I lied. It was not in the right place. Yay, we found it. I'm going to strain through this. I've just got like a big Find My strainer.
Was it in the bottom drawer?
It was in the drawer. It was in the rolling drawer.
Oh, weird.
Okay, so let's do it live over here. I may spill, but I'm fine with that. Okay, and 1, 2, 3. Mean it. If you mean it, you won't spill. If you mean it, you won't spill. You spilled anyway. That's okay. Ugh, okay. Okay. And shrimp stock. So I've got all of my liquids, all of the things that I need. That's still too hot for that. And now we're going to start. Did you turn off the... Oh, okay. Turned off the secondary camera. We're going to put it onto the stovetop. Being that the microwave is above the stove, how's the hood venting? It's pretty good. And actually, we'll turn it on. I have like 4 levels. So they do like high, medium, and low. So it's actually pretty good. You want? Whew. So we'll turn that on a little bit because it's going to get hot. So I'm going to turn this on now. I'm going to put it about a medium high, and I'm going to let that oil come up to temperature. Okay, I'm going to double check my ingredients to make sure I didn't miss anything, even though I don't think that I did. Oh, hey, I did. Hey, what do you know? I need my crab meat. Do I need to, yeah. You guys get to see me use my left-handed can opener and be amazed. This is my left-handed can opener. You slide it open like this, and then because the twist is always on the wrong side, and it's annoying. And honestly, this is so much better for people who have like arthritis too. So like if you can't do that twist motion anymore. This one is made by Kuhn Rikon. I honestly don't know if they sell it anymore, but you can probably find something on Amazon maybe. That works. So here's my my crab meat. I just went with claw because like we're not bougie here. It's the coolest opener you've ever seen. I know, I love it. I love this opener. It's one of those things that like people are always like, how do you like, especially when I have like friends over that are like, oh, can I help you cook? Can I help you prep? And I'm like, yeah, sure, here, open these cans or do whatever. And they're like, I have no idea how to use this thing. But once I get them using it, they're always really excited about it. They don't have them anymore. Oh, yeah, I know. Oh, Cajun Ma is my mother, by the way. I know you had to buy an electric. I know they don't have it on their website. I feel like we could probably find it on like eBay or something like that at some point. Okay, yeah, did anybody hear the thunder? It started thundering and lightning. Lightninging, I don't know. We're getting hot. We're getting to the point that I'm gonna be adding my flour. I think it's hailing. Yep, we're hailing. Yep. I can see all the chunks bouncing off the roof next door.
Oh my God, it's hailing.
It's hailing. They're pretty big pieces. Cool.
Look. See the little chunk of ice?
Oh my goodness.
Look, it's ice. Yeah.
Okay. I want to like super feel the heat coming off of this before I add it. And then I also want to have a spatula at the ready, which I don't. Cool.
Oh, that's so weird.
No. Maybe a little bit. Okay. I think we're about ready. Here we go, fam. Are we ready? Okay, so we're going to take our flour. We're going to pour it into our oil. And then we're going to just stir. And we're going to stir gently. You do not want to get splashed with this. It is very hot. And that would not be fun. Okay. And so this takes about 15 minutes. I'm not walking away from this pan. Pot. Dutch oven. I'm not doing it. But I am going to stir and look at it on the camera here and attempt to read what you guys are saying. I usually take my gumbo roux to a dark chocolate color, which is why it takes about 15 minutes. Oh yeah, butter would 100% burn. You need to have, so you need to have something that's really high heat. If you do a low and slow roux, you can use something like chicken fat. You can use the fat that came off of the sausage. You could use all of those things. That would be fine. But it takes several hours, and I don't have the time for that. So I make my roux this way. And I'm just going to be going around the edges and then pulling through the middle and just kind of like serpentining through as we go along. Roux and bechamel are cousins, right? Yes. Bechamel has, I believe, milk added to it. So you basically make a blonde roux, and then you add milk to it. Of all days for me to do a stream, this hail is so loud. Can you guys hear this? You can hear it? It sounds like rice. That's funny. Ma'am? Sorry, my daughter is playing with a really loud measuring tape. Can you hear that in the background too? Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
It's getting crazy out there. Love it. Okay, I gotta say, the oil may not have been hot enough when I started this. I did not check it with the thermometer, and that was my bad. Because this should already be dark, and it is not. So I might start this over. I'm gonna give it a little bit longer. This should already be a chocolate color, like a light, like kind of caramel kind of color. And we are not cooking. I can smell it, like I'm starting to smell it, but it might take a little longer. What do we think? Let's make a decision on the fly here. I can continue cooking this as is, and it'll take maybe a little bit longer. I'm getting to like maybe like a light roasted peanut color, but I haven't quite hit anything that's like a caramel color yet. So I can do one or two things. I can start this over so you guys can see exactly what it's supposed to do, like right at the onset. Or I can just keep spinning, or keep stirring. It's starting to smell really good. Thoughts?
Keep going, babe.
Just keep going. Low and slow is better than risking burning. I agree if that's the thought that you're worried about. But I would also say low and slow takes several hours. And if I'm doing it this way and I waste 15 minutes and start over, that to me is like a much better trade-off than like doing something for several hours and then it burning at the end and you being like, oh God, what do I do? You know, like now I got to start all that over again. So like if I burn something in 15 minutes and then I just have to restart it, it's just like 15 minutes lost. So like I guess it depends. If you want to have more flavor and you want to use something that will burn at a high temperature, then low and slow is the way to go. But if like that's not kind of like where you're like wanting to go, then in my mind, the timing of this is just easier. All right, so we're starting to get brown now. We're getting a little bit of color. All right, this is actually looking really good, so I'm just gonna keep going. Bring the temperature down a bit.
The missing on was inside your cover into your light.
Do not walk away from your roux. Do not walk away from your roux. I keep wanting to look back and check chat. I can't see what anybody's saying, but I'm worried that if I look away and I don't scrape the right part of the pot and then something sits for too long, it'll burn.
They say it's the best cooking stream ever.
I'm sure that's what was said, but I appreciate the sentiment.
Get out of the way, Gordon Ramsay.
Very funny. So if I was using a spatula in this right now, it's like a silicone spatula or something like that, even if it was like something that could withstand like 500 degrees or something like that, Fahrenheit, obvious reasons. We're gonna say Fahrenheit for liability purposes. Even if this was like a high heat silicone spatula that had like a flat top or something like that, the chances of that silicone like bending and flexing and flicking hot oil at me is high enough that I strictly use a wooden spoon, like a flat topped wooden spoon for this. I have the spoon that I'm using has holes in it. I think it helps with the flow of the roux through and around this spatula. I do have one that doesn't have the holes, but I don't typically use it for this. But I prefer to use this tool over any of the other ones that I have. Even like a whisk, like I won't use a whisk for this. Like that just seems crazy to me. Like I want something that's just gonna scrape and move and like very little agitation. Okay, so we're starting to come into like a light caramel color now. I'm sure you guys can kind of see that. We're getting color. You use a whisk? That's terrifying. That terrifies me. And I cook, like, and that's the thing is it's like, everybody has like a way of doing something that they're comfortable with. So like somebody is like, you know, may have never made a roux before and is like, this is like scary for me. It's hot oil, it's this, it's that. But like everybody has a level of comfortability with the tools in their kitchen, with what they're making. And it's just about like figuring out what works for you, right? Like try all the things, see what works for you. Your grandma taught you with a metal whisk. Honestly, that's always what I read in recipes, where it's like a whisk. Everybody uses a whisk. I prefer this. This is I feel like it covers more surface area. There's less of an opportunity for like splashing. Although if this does splash, I'm getting a much larger splash than I would get off of a whisk. Like a whisk at least would like break up the droplets a little bit. But yeah. Whew. Looks like it stopped raining, or at least raining really hard. We're done. It's already gone. Yay, Florida. The storm's already gone. Okay, so now I'm in a really nice brunette, like caramel colored roux. We're moving into like a little bit of a darker situation here. Still going, not leaving my pot, making sure that I'm covering the whole thing, going kind of through it meticulously. Oh, so pretty. You feel like your hand would cramp? I'm not really holding this really hard. Honestly, my shoulder is feeling it more than my hand. Like I'm not even really using my wrist. I'm just kind of moving my arm around. Yep, I'm smelling popcorn. So whoever made that as a comment earlier and was like, do you think it smells kind of like popcorn-y?
Oh,
Yes.
Hot butter.
Huh?
This is hot butter.
There's no butter. This is oil. I've got oil in here.
Oh.
I'm not using butter. Okay. So you know you're still in a really good place, right? When everything is uniform in color. We've got like just a really nice texture here that's like thick enough that you can see it separate and then it kind of comes back together gently like this. That's like a really nice texture for a roux. I don't have any flecks and dark pieces that suggest that like something got burned and scraped up. If you see any dark flecks that are different in color than the rest of the roux, you burned it. Just stop when you see it, start over. But right now we're at like a really nice place and I'm just gonna keep cooking it. We're moving into like the end of caramel and into chocolate at this point. Let's check. What do we got? I used canola. Is it possible to substitute? Yes. So you're looking for, if you're doing this type of roux, if you're using this technique of cooking, so high heat, then you need to have a high heat and neutrally flavored oil unless you want to impart some added flavor to your gumbo. So I use canola. You can use vegetable oil. That's also a nice neutral high heat. You can use safflower. You can use grapeseed oil. If you want, you could use peanut oil, but that's kind of where like you get that extra flavor that you may not want in your gumbo. So it's really, I think those four oils are probably your best bet if you want to use this cooking technique. If you're doing low and slow, you can honestly use like almost whatever you want. If you're doing it at a low temperature, I honestly for this I would recommend using chicken fat. Chicken fat, or if you have fat from your sausage, from cooking down your sausage, or like some sort of combination thereof, those would be great for extra flavor. Great for extra flavor. I've hit milk chocolate. So at this point, if you wanted to have like a lighter gumbo, like a lighter flavor in your gumbo, you could pull it off at this point. You've hit like a light chocolatey color, like a milk chocolate color, or like a really deep caramel color. Like this will work. I prefer to go into a darker color. I don't know, like if any of you have, been to Louisiana or you've had a traditional gumbo and it's that like just really deep like brown flavor or brown color, that color mostly comes from the roux, and you only get that deep dark color from like all of the best gumbos that I've had when you cook it even longer and you get into that like dark chocolate kind of color. At least a semi-sweet. At least 50% dark chocolate, right? Have I ever pickled my own peppers? Yeah, I pickled peppers. Pickled veg, pickled peppers. I've pickled okra. Pickled okra is so good. So for me, like this isn't scary for me. The scary part is adding the onions. That's the scariest part for me. Because they fry. This is oil. It's like frying onions when you toss them in. Now, a lot of the times, so like, and we're starting to get a little bit of smoke. That's okay. Smoke is fine. We just don't want those flecks. We don't want the flecks at all, right? We want everything to be uniform in color. We don't want any seizing. We want it to kind of stay nice and fluid like this. So we're still in an okay place. But I am getting pretty close to where I want it to be. I would not, like a lot of the times when you see people adding like spices, right, into something like a curry, then you would add your spices directly into your oil to really, really bring, like toast them and get those aromatics into it and get all of that flavor kind of like uniformly spread throughout the dish. Do not do this with gumbo. The spices get added in after we've kind of started sauteing our vegetables into this. This is so hot, it will toast and immediately burn the spices, and nobody wants that. We don't want that. So we're not going to do it. I am almost done. Could go a little darker. We've hit semi-sweet. Take notes, there's going to be a quiz. No, there's not. Okay, so for gluten-free option, don't use a roux. Don't use a roux. We cooked off our okra. I like to do the pan-fried okra so that I can get like some of that charred flavor in there. But okra, as we all know, people don't like it because it's slimy. Well, that sliminess, right, that pectin that comes out when you cook it, actually, and traditionally, you have three things that you use to thicken your gumbo. You can use a roux, you can use your okra, and then you use your filet. Some use all three. Most don't use all three. Most use like two or one of each of those. So if you wanted to thicken without gluten, I would tell you to just slice up your okra and throw it into your stew and let the okra do the work. Okra and then the filet at the end. And if you need a little bit more thickener, like if you're like, it's not quite there, use cornstarch slurry. I'd use a cornstarch slurry near the end and just put it in to the thickness that you want it to be. So you could completely skip this roux and you can just use okra. Okay. My computer screen went to sleep, so I will not be talking to you until I have vegetables in here cooking. But this is about where I want it. I always tell myself, I'm like, how far can I push it? How much darker can I get this? But this is like a really lovely chocolatey roux. And I'm feeling like this is really close to what I want. Like how far can I push it? Do you remember what the password is? Nope, that's okay. Very, very close. So look how different in color that is in just a little bit of time that we've been doing. Okay. I'm gonna give it like one more minute and then we're gonna go. Everybody ready? Are we ready for the scary part? Oh God, I'm not ready for the scary part. I don't think I'm ready. You're cooking too? Yay! How are you feeling? Are you feeling good?
I don't know if they're cooking your.
Oh, you're cooking in general, or are you cooking the gumbo? Okay, I'm happy. I'm gonna turn this down to like a medium-low temperature, and I'm gonna dump these onions in. You ready? What do you say? I like the stream. Oh, okay. Here we go. So now we've added liquid, and we've got the bubbling and the frying going on. Okay, you're gonna let that go for 30 seconds to a minute, and then we're gonna toss in our peppers. I'm like trying to stand off to the side. I don't wanna like cover anything too much. There we go. Bring the temperature back up. Scariest part over. Look at that. We did it. Like that's what we're looking at. And now I want this to sweat down and soften a little bit. So I'm just going to keep working this around. And I'm also going to get myself a kitchen towel so I actually hold on to this thing without burning my hand off. There you go. And now we can walk away without freaking out so much. Whew. Yes, garlic is going into this roux. We did it! Now you're just thinking about dirty rice and jambalaya? I know.
Sunlight.
Yeah, we have, I guess if we need to close that window, if the lighting got weird, you can close the blinds. Okay, so this is essentially our aromatics in our roux, right? But we have everything ready to go. So I've got spices, and I've got my umami paste, which we have some white miso, we have an anchovy, and we have 4 cloves of roasted garlic in paste form, just chilling and ready to go. I'm waiting. So basically what I'm waiting, I saw the top of your head. You tried. Essentially what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to cook down the vegetables enough that I can't feel, this is going to sound really weird. You can't feel the individual pieces of like celery and stuff like that, like all of those edges and all those pieces getting caught on your spatula or on whatever you're using to mix. Like I want them to soften enough that they kind of get a little bit like mushy and broken down. The more rigid they are, the more you're gonna feel them on your spatula. And so I'm just looking for a point at which that doesn't happen. But once they do start to soften, at this point you can put in your spices. So I'm gonna toss my spices in. We've got some cumin, some paprika, and some celery seed. Ooh, that smells nice. So those are gonna go in, and those are gonna get toasty and nice and cooked. I'm not gonna put the umami bomb in yet, because garlic tends to burn. And I don't want that to happen. So that's kind of gonna go in a little bit last. Like, here's where we are. It kind of reminds me of stuffing, I'm gonna be honest. When I make stuffing for Thanksgiving, like I actually stuff my bird, my turkey, and it's like we fry it out. So like I'll make stuffing, I fry it in butter, and then I stuff it in the bird. And so like This is very much akin to that same process. Okay, I'm gonna throw, I haven't done this yet, I'm gonna throw some salt in here too, just to get some more moisture pulled out of my aromatics. Okay, so this is definitely softened up quite a bit. I don't know if anybody can see, like all of my edges are not quite as sharp. It's getting a little bit, just a little bit of mush. We're gonna throw in our little umami paste situation here. And that's gonna go right in. Whew. If your shoulder's not dead by now, you are an awesome human being. Whew. This is ready for our liquid ingredients. Oh, here we go. Okay. All of the crazy part is over. Most of our prepped items are already in. And so now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start adding in our liquid. We're gonna start with our beer. I want kind of that heat to start boiling, or the alcohol to start boiling out immediately. You'll notice that the roux is doing its job. I just poured an entire cup of liquid in and it's still paste. There we go. Next comes our shrimp stock. Go. Let's see. Everything's going in. Okay. Let's get our okra in. Gonna get all of our sausage in. Get our crab meat in, which I did not pick through, so fingers crossed we don't end up eating any shells, but it is what it is. I guess I can do like a cursory kind of pick through. I'm not seeing anything. Yay. Crab meat goes in. And then I have chicken stock too. You only need about 2 cups of chicken stock. I have pre-made chicken stock here that I'm just gonna kind of scoop out, that I've kind of like half defrosted. So we're just gonna kind of add in my frozen chicken stock. You don't have to do chicken stock if you really don't want to. I just think it adds a better flavor, but you would need more shrimp stock because the amount of liquid is going to be important. I know that looks so weird. That looks so weird. If you wanted to, you could defrost this beforehand and then just like toss it in or pour it in, I mean. That's about right. And now we mix. Okay. And now this cooks for 4 to 6 hours. Just set it on low to a simmer. I guess you can see how thick it is, but it's gonna cook for another 4 to 6 hours, and it's going to cook out all of that flour flavor. It will thin out a bit as that roux and everything kind of cooks for longer. Any additional moisture that are in the ingredients will come out, will get into the soup, or into your stew, sorry. Into your gumbo, and it will thin a little bit, but not too much. It's basically going to stay about that thick, like for the rest of it. Like it'll thin out. It will thin out as it cooks, but like not too much. So expect something kind of like this as your texture moving forward. Now, if you really want, you can taste it. I would not recommend it. It's just going to taste like burnt flour. The point of the 4 to 6 hours of simmering is that it's going to cook out that flour flavor so that you just get that like nice roasted bready flavor from the roux. And it's not going to taste good now. It's just not. If you were curious, you could taste it now and then taste it in the 4 to 6 hours and see where you land. But I do recommend, like just as an experiment, but I would not recommend adjusting for taste until it is done. If you tasted that now and you tried to adjust for anything, it's going to taste completely different in another like 6 hours or so. So yeah. No, I don't put the crab meat in later because the crab meat isn't going to really change in texture that much. It might oh, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just not going to get rubbery the way that shrimp gets rubbery. It'll break down and kind of just like be a part of the stew more than anything else. So I'm not worried about the crab meat kind of hanging out in there. It's the shrimp. That is the thing. Now, what I will do, I guess just to like finalize this, is I'm going to talk about, because like I'm going to end stream now. This is the end of stream. There are 2 more steps to this recipe that are not going to be on the stream. So like, let's just quick kind of go over those and go through those steps so that when you do get to that point, that we can kind of follow along. I may or may not turn the camera on and record the second half of this. So if you suddenly are like, hey, I'm back. If you like see that on the video, that part's not live. We've just recorded it later outside of the stream so that you guys have access to like the whole recipe. But essentially what you're going to do once we've got this 4 to 6 hours done, right? Honestly, 6. Once you're done with 6, I say 4 to 6. 4 is like the minimum. 6 plus is like a nice place. But you've got several more ingredients that you're kind of just adding to taste to get it where you want it to be. And one of those is hot sauce. I have crystal hot sauce. You can put whatever hot sauce you want in. If you wanted to put cayenne, like powdered cayenne or cayenne seasoning or pepper or something like that, Instead of a hot sauce, you are absolutely welcome to do that instead. Not a big deal. Red pepper flakes, if you want larger chunks, cool, go for it. But you're adding your heat in at the end. You're going to be adding salt in at the end. I like to do some fresh thyme at the end. Fresh herbs are typically added at the end of a stew so that you don't cook the flavor completely out by the time that you're done with it. So in like the last 30 minutes, these are all going to go in like the last 15, 30 minutes of cooking. The other thing that I like to add, which we kind of talked about as a thickener, if I can find it, is gumbo filet. So gumbo filet is made from ground up sassafras leaves. It essentially tastes super vegetal. So a mix between like a green pepper and thyme, like somewhere in like, it's kind of a combination of that with like a hint of citrus. And this gets added at the end. The longer that you cook the longer that you cook filet, into a gumbo, the less thickening action and less flavor you will have, much like fresh herbs. So this gets put in the last like 15 minutes of cooking. So you're gonna cook for 6 hours, you're gonna come back, you're gonna add your hot sauce, you're gonna add in your fresh herbs, you're gonna add in your gumbo filet. And then this is a completely optional thing. I know we've already added beer. We have cooked by the time that you've simmered this. That beer will be cooked out. The alcohol will be cooked out with just that amber ale or blonde ale in this case remaining, that flavor remaining. I actually like to add a little bit of vodka. I add a tablespoon vodka to my gumbo at the end. There is scientific reasoning behind that. Essentially, alcohol evaporates faster than water does. And so you get more aroma coming out of the stew if there's alcohol in it than you would if there was none. And so essentially what that does is it just increases the flavor. So you have a couple of different components of flavor. One of those is aroma, one of those is taste. And so 80% of the flavor that your brain perceives comes from aroma, comes from your olfactory senses. And so anything I can do to make something smell more fragrant, it's going to add that much more flavor. So vodka, I throw about a tablespoon in at the very end. It's unnecessary, not unnecessary. I think it's necessary, but it is optional. You do not have to do it. Please don't do it if you don't want to. But it is just kind of an added bonus, an added layer of flavor. The other thing that you would need to do is to cook your shrimp. Now let me do this real quick. I'm gonna wash off my fine mesh strainer here that I strained my shrimp stock out with. And I'm gonna show you guys, how I do this. I said it earlier in the stream, people seemed to like it, so we'll talk about it a little bit now. I like to use some kind of fine mesh strainer. If you have like one of these guys, like a little colander or something like that, it works great. And what I will do is I will actually nestle this into my soup pot. We'll cook a couple shrimp up. Let's cook 2 shrimp. I'm gonna rinse these 2. Okay. So we'll do this. It's probably not gonna taste very good because it's like surrounded by flour, but essentially what I'll do is I'll just kind of nestle this in and I'll cook my shrimp this way and then pull it out of, it's not even hot even. We're still bringing temperature up. I will cook for a couple minutes in the strainer, and then when they're done, I will pull them out and then I will put them into a separate bowl. That way I can stop their cooking and they're not just like sitting in the stew getting like more and more and more and more cooked and then they get rubbery. So what you're looking for when you're cooking shrimp is you want it to remain in this kind of C shape. Once they fully curl into each other and you see that tail kind of curl in and it's in like a ball, they're overcooked. You always want to have that kind of gentle C shape when it comes to your shrimp. So you're looking for them to turn pink all the way around and you're looking for that kind of like they go from here and then they're going to kind of turn into a C, but you don't want them to be fully into a circle. This is definitely not hot enough. There's enough vegetables in there that I can just leave it and walk away from it. And honestly, like, I kind of do. At some point, I do. Like, I'll just let them cook for a couple minutes. But we'll cook those 2 shrimp off, just so you can see. And then what I'll do is I'll store those separately. I'll heat everything up separately. So gumbo can be stored for up to 4 days in your refrigerator. It is, in fact, better the next day. Just throwing that out there. It will be good when it's done, but it is one of those stews that will be better the next day and even better the next day, and it just keeps getting better. But in the refrigerator, it's good for about 4 days. It can be stored in a freezer for 1 to 2 months, as long as it's sealed well and you're not like taking it in and taking it out and trying to defrost. Like, don't ever defrost and reheat and like all that stuff over and over again. So I would portion this out into like smaller containers that are enough for a single meal, so you can defrost a single one at a time. And I will reheat, right? So for the first like 3 days or so, I will reheat it, the gumbo, and get it nice and like hot. And then I will actually toss the shrimp in, cold shrimp, right from the refrigerator into the stew, and let it kind of reheat in the stew, so that I'm not actively like cooking it. Like, I'd be cooking the whole thing in the microwave, because that will overcook them. So you just kind of like gently let them warm up in the stew, and they're already cooked, so they're good to go. And then at later dates, so like say a month or 2 down the road, if I'm looking to add shrimp, then I will literally have like frozen shrimp or fresh shrimp that are new, and I will cook those and then add them into the stew separate. We're halfway there. We're halfway there. We're almost there. So that's the stream. Thank you very much for joining. I really appreciate you guys being here. For those of you who cooked along with me today and did all of this live, I hope that you learned a lot. I hope that you made it through, and that this kind of was a good way for you to learn alongside someone and do it as they were doing it, and just feel more comfortable with trying something new. Or honestly, just doing something that you've done a billion times and you just felt like jumping on the bandwagon because, you know, someone else wanted to do it, and let's just get together and have a party, right? Thank you very much for those of you who did not cook along but wanted to come and hang out. It's always really nice to talk to you guys, answer questions. You guys always have great questions. And so this is a really good time. Again, this video is live currently, but it is going to be posted on my YouTube channel. So if you like the video, we will have several other videos that we're bringing over from previous streams and putting in there. Please watch the other videos, like, subscribe, come back. I will be doing lives like this, cook-alongs like this in the future. You can look to my Instagram. I'm a little spoon, so A, and then I've got underscores in between the words, a_little_spoon. I am on Instagram. You can find me there. That's where I will be announcing all of these cooking streams. It's where I'll be giving countdowns and times and more information if you do want to cook along, and then join us over on YouTube day of. And you can also visit my website, alittlespoon.com. Pretty easy. Everything that you see here is paid for and supported by my Patreon. If you learned something, if you liked something, if you like the other recipes that you see, I don't want to ever have that paywall to content. I don't want to have ads on my website. And so that's kind of how things get funded. If you are a Patreon, I do also offer access to a private Discord server. That Discord server is kind of just a place where we all chat and hang out. We talk about food. We talk about food science. We talk about what we're making. I have a lot of behind the scenes for stuff that I'm currently working on. And we just like have a good time. And then we do like monthly Zoom calls, again, where we just kind of hang out and chat. So I would love to see you guys there as well, if that's something that you want to do. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining me in the A Little Spoon Kitchen. I'll see you guys next time.